After living near K-Town for 2 years in my overpriced studio, I decided it was time to move. My apartment hunt in NYC had gone on for weeks, and despite reaching out to dozens of apartments and touring 10 of them, I still had no luck. My budget was simply too low compared to my standards. I still wanted more options. I decided to look at an area where many NYU students like me move to. The truth is, I was indifferent about moving to New Jersey because 4 years in the city were already enough. You're not missing out much from moving to New Jersey. Hoboken and Jersey City are right across the Hudson River, making it as close as Brooklyn and Queens. In my New Jersey search, I was most interested in the areas of Grove Street, the historic downtown area with many restaurants and nightlife, and Journal Square, a newly developing area with a lot of high-rises entering its landscape. These two are more affordable than the Newport area and the city of Hoboken, both of which are more expensive because they're by the river. The first tour took place in a $2,600 one-bedroom apartment. It was 767 square feet, so it was absolutely massive, and it was an 11-minute walk from the station. The distance to the closest PATH station is a very important metric in New Jersey because the PATH train would be my primary commute to work in Manhattan. From the train station to the office already took 40 minutes, so minimizing the walk from my apartment to the train station was very important. Another benefit of living in New Jersey is that an in-unit washer and dryer are pretty common, something that NYC doesn't offer at the same price. Doing laundry whenever you want is such a huge plus. I can't tell you how many times in Herald Square I had to wait for others to unload their laundry if all the machines were full. The only reason I visited this place, despite its high price tag, was that management told me negotiating at a lower price could be possible. Of course, I took that with a huge grain of salt, since this wasn't an official promise or anything. The apartment itself was great, boasting a huge washroom and large spaces overall. Both closets were also nice and large enough to accommodate my entire wardrobe. The only reasons why I decided not to pursue this apartment were the uncertain rent price, which would be too high if negotiations failed, and them telling me that the apartment was in great demand and they were already reviewing applications, which made me think I didn't have a chance. I guess they were bluffing because they reached out to me multiple times weeks after the tour, asking me if I was still interested. The next apartment I saw was a $2,100 studio of 485 square feet. It was only 3 minutes away from the station. The unit was fine, although I did learn the importance of tidiness and its effects on first impressions. Other than the fact that it seemed like a bomb went off in the apartment, the rest of it, such as the appliances and closet space, seemed fine. The building also had some nice amenities, like a gym and a lounge, the basics of an apartment. One odd thing was that the rooftop was completely barren and void of any furniture. It was quite literally just a roof. Nothing more.
Are there any tables or chairs here usually?
Right now we don't have anything, but yeah, you can just manage it by yourself.
A downside was that the building was right in front of a construction zone, and I imagined it would be very noisy and chaotic every day. If you're wondering why I'm suddenly so interested in amenities, one does not simply move to New Jersey without getting a few extra perks. Obviously, amenities are out of the question in NYC because you're asking for too much. But for Jersey, why would you move all the way there if you're not getting something back in return? I had wanted a high-rise apartment in Journal Square, but there simply weren't any available. Either way out of my budget in the high 2000s, or too small, aka less than 300 square feet, or had a move-in date after my lease would expire. Plus, I was still unhappy about Journal Square's vibe. While the area surrounding the train station was fine, anywhere outside that bubble seemed too run down for my taste.
Hey everyone, I'm walking the streets of LA. Oh my god, isn't that so crazy? I'm kidding.
Grove Street wasn't looking too bright either. While the area was perfect, I either never heard back from anywhere I reached out to, or was met with insane broker fees that weren't worth pursuing, leading me to give up on Grove Street. Then, one day, I saw an unbelievable listing. A studio in Newport had been listed for $2,300. Considering how Riverside apartments normally went for above $2,500, this seemed almost too good to be true. I went to the open house one day, and it was evident that others had also heard of this rare find. There was a long line of people waiting to see this place. Having a square footage of 570, being on the 32nd floor, having a stunning view facing Manhattan, and being only a 7-minute walk from the station, this Riverside apartment had no reason to be this cheap. But of course, there's always a reason. A family of 3 who had been visiting the apartment at the same time had made a grim discovery.
I see in here there's mouse trap.
Oh,
What?
mouse.
And over in the bathroom there's an ant trap too.
I'll double check.
After searching on the internet and finding out that the apartment had a bad history of insects, I decided to drop this as well. I still valued quality and sanitation over getting a place to live.
And the refrigerator was really dirty. I mean, if somebody doesn't care enough to clean it before they show it, that's telling.
You gotta notice all the little...
Keep on a lookout too, I guess.
I know what to look for.
Yeah. My search had come to a standstill. I still didn't know what borough or state I wanted to live in, constantly weighing pros and cons of each area. In the end, it came down to a very general question. Which did I value more, convenience or quality? I remembered how in high school back in Korea, I would commute to school every single day, normally taking 45 to 50 minutes. I had done these lengthy commutes as a high schooler. Why wouldn't I be able to do it now? After making up my mind that commuting was not really a big deal, I went all in on New Jersey. Finally, I made some promising progress. I was able to set up a tour with an apartment that had previously been impossible to contact. The best part? This apartment was completely brand new. Whichever unit I chose, I would be its first tenant. I had a very comprehensive tour of 5 different units. We started with a rooftop, which had a 360-degree view. With a lot of furniture to accommodate a lot of people and a view of all of Manhattan, we were instantly on a good start. Next was the lounge, just below the rooftop. I thought my Herald Square Apartments lounge was large, but this one was equally spacious, to my surprise.
When did this building open? It seems relatively
haven't.
You haven't opened yet?
No, we're technically opening tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
There was a private dining area, presumably for private events. There was also a conference area, including booths for Zoom calls. There was a gym on the basement level, which was quite large. Compared to the mini gyms for other apartments in Journal Square that I had seen, this one definitely took the cake. There was also a yoga room with huge mirrors all around. I imagine this room could be used for a lot of other purposes as well, such as a dance practice room. I also saw an area that was eventually going to become a golf simulator room, which was an insane thing to even think about. I liked that apartments in New Jersey offered amenities that you couldn't even dream about in NYC for the same price. We saw the units next. The first unit I visited was a penthouse unit on the topmost floor of the building, the 27th floor. It was a 437 square foot studio for $27.45, but since they were offering 12-month leases with an additional free month, it would come down to $25.33. Still slightly high for my budget. The unit came with brand new appliances and 2 closets, one of which was a walk-in closet. It had an in-unit washer and dryer, which every single unit had. The washroom was incredibly spacious, and the large windows provided a lot of natural light, something that none of the apartments I had seen up to this point offered. The next unit was on the 23rd floor and had the same layout as the penthouse. Interestingly though, it was more expensive than the penthouse at $27.70 or $25.57 with a free month. Then logically, why would anyone not go for the penthouse? I learned that this building was right next to the pass station, reducing my walk to the station down to an unbelievable 2 minutes. Plus, an Asian/Korean grocery store was near the train station, which is huge because Asian marts, especially Korean ones, are pretty hard to come by outside of Manhattan. This instantly eliminated my discontent with Journal Square. The third unit was supposed to be on the 24th floor, but it was unavailable, so we saw an equivalent on the 23rd floor. It was a 379 square foot studio for $26.10. With a free month, that would come down to $24.09. Some differences from the previous units were that there was 1 walk-in closet instead of 2, and the washer and dryer were not behind a closed door, meaning that it could get quite noisy. The next unit was essentially the same thing, except on the 2nd floor and with a terrace. It was priced at $25.05 or $23.12 with a free month. I wasn't such a huge fan of this one because it got rid of the view entirely. Plus, I didn't need an outdoor space. I didn't see myself using it much either. The last unit was supposed to be on the 26th floor, but we ended up seeing a 10th floor equivalent. It was a 374 square foot studio for $25.70, which would come down to $23.72 with a free month. The washer and dryer were behind a door for this unit, and instead of 1 walk-in closet, there were 2 separate smaller closets. The layout was interesting. The majority of the living room was hidden from the entrance, meaning you could put your bed or whatever in the alcove. I was a fan of the larger windows compared to the previous units because they let more natural light in. As my Herald Square apartment let in no natural light at all, I was a fan of this. I left the tour feeling good.
Well, I don't think you could do much better than that one. That's like the luxury of the luxury. Oh my god, it is wonderful. If I do want to live in Journal Square, there is no place better than this one. This is the peak.
I was pretty much set on this apartment. Not only did it meet my criteria, but it exceeded it by many times. I wanted to act quick before the units I saw were taken. So the very next day, I submitted an application for $85. Since I didn't meet the 40 times requirements, I had to pay a guarantor's fee, which was 90% of the monthly rent. And 4 painstaking days later, I finally got approved. I finally have an apartment! Oh my god, the search is over. The 3-week-long apartment hunt had finally come to an end, somehow simultaneously with my master's program. It's as if all of my hardships decided to come to an end at the same time.
Now we're going to sign the leases. Hold on. There's 111 pages of this shit?
Over my 3-week search, I looked at 100 apartments. In reality, the number is probably closer to 150, but I could only confirm 100 for sure. Among those, I only looked at but didn't reach out to 28 because they didn't meet my standards. Of the remaining 72 apartments that I reached out to, 28 of them ignored me. Hearing back from the apartments was the hardest part because regardless of how good the apartments were, I didn't even get a chance for over a third of them. Of the remaining 44 apartments that I did hear back from, I ignored 18 of them. This was for reasons like insane burger fees, areas I was no longer interested in, or scams. It happened a lot on this website called Redfin. 1-bedroom apartments in Chelsea, which is such a good neighborhood in Manhattan, by the way, were getting listed for $2,000 with an in-unit washer and dryer, aka too good to be true. The quote-unquote realtor sent an email to me, and when I searched his name on Google, the first thing that popped up was a Reddit thread saying that it was a scam. So my advice to you is not to use Redfin. Only use StreetEasy and Zillow because both of them display realtors' IDs, so they're more legit, but websites like Redfin, they don't. So random people can set up accounts for scams. So just watch out. Of the 26 remaining apartments, 6 places either canceled or ignored tours. Like when I showed up to an apartment in Queens for a tour and no one was there. The realtor never showed up. It makes an already difficult apartment hunt even more challenging. On the other hand, I canceled or rejected 7 tours. Again, this would be for areas that I was no longer interested in. And finally, I landed 13 different tours. In terms of location, 6 tours were in New Jersey, 4 tours were in Manhattan, 2 tours in Queens, and 1 tour in Brooklyn. And of course, I applied to and was approved by 1 single apartment. For the 72 apartments that I reached out to, 29 were in Manhattan, 21 in Queens, 17 in Jersey City, 3 in Brooklyn, and 2 in Hoboken. And these were the average prices of the places I reached out to. You'll notice that the Jersey apartments were more expensive than the NYC ones. That's because I increased my price cap for Jersey because of the tax savings. I just decided to reinvest what I had saved towards rent and a better apartment. Overall, the average prices of all the places I'd reached out to was $21.64.
Yeah, you know it's bad when guys' pants suddenly look like girls' pants.
I don't know what that means. Is it not connected to the water?
The Wi-Fi situation has gotten much worse. I can't even connect to something as simple as New York Times Sudoku.